Recently, I discovered something new about language, and it completely changed the way I think about how we all communicate. But first, I'd like to ask everyone here a question. How many of you have tried to learn a new language before? Show of hands. Wow, that's most of you. How many of you have succeeded? Not quite as many. Okay, I know the feeling. I'm still working on it. Right. Well, whether you've succeeded in learning a new language or you're still trying, you are not alone. There are approximately 1.2 billion people learning a new language around the world. Now, the vast majority of them are learning just one language in particular, a language spoken by everyone in this room. That's right, at least 800 million people are learning how to speak English. And many of them are doing this to get out of poverty. Well, the reason for this is simple. In most countries, you can earn between 25 and 100% more just by knowing English. But what about the other 400 million people? Right? Why are they learning a new language? Well, I ask these questions because I am part of a team that is trying to make language education free for everyone in the world. It's called Duolingo, and we have more than 300 million people using this app to teach themselves a new language 100% free. Now that means that we have one of the largest data sets of language learners in existence, and we have studied millions of people spanning every single country on the planet. Our researchers created this map, and it shows us the most popular languages to learn in each country around the world. And it tells us really a lot of interesting things. For example, we can see just how popular it really is to learn English, right? Most of the world is learning English. Now, this is something that we expected, of course. But then we noticed something unexpected, something strange. And if I zoom in here, perhaps you'll be able to see it too. You see it? All right, the data told us that the most popular language to learn in Sweden is Swedish. Sounds like a mistake, doesn't it? It can't be that hard to learn, can it? So why was this? Why was the most popular language to learn in Sweden Swedish? Refugees. Right, Sweden saw more than a 10x increase in the number of refugees seeking asylum in the country between 2015 and 2016. And as they arrived, they all began looking for a way to learn Swedish for free. But where did all of these refugees come from? Well, many of them came from Syria. As a matter of fact, there are now more registered Syrian refugees than the entire population of the city of Los Angeles. Right, there are more than 6 million registered Syrian refugees and counting. Now, this is shocking, of course, but it's really not the first time that we've heard something like this. See, over the years, we have actually received thousands of letters and emails from people who are in this exact situation. Here's one of them. It says, "Learning German was a necessity for me to advance in my career and broaden my options beyond Syria. Living in a country torn by hideous war and daily terrible news was unbearable, but learning a new language gave me hope." We've received many stories just like this one. When we discovered what was going on over in Sweden, we decided that simply replying to these letters and publishing our language research was not enough. So we decided to go further. Much further, actually, about 6,000 miles further to be exact. And we traveled from here in Pittsburgh in the United States to the source of all of this in the Middle East, with the hopes of finding and meeting some of the people that had been writing to us all of these years. Our journey begins here in Gaziantep, just over the border with Syria. Show you some photos of the journey. Now, the first person to let us into his home and into his life was a man named Aleh. Now, he actually protested against the Syrian government when things started to turn bad in his country, and he was arrested during one of his protests and dragged off to jail. But as he explained to us, this was no ordinary jail. Now, he said that he was placed in a small cell with 50 other men, so small and so crowded that they all had to sit balled up with their knees to their chests, unable to stand up and unable to speak for 1 whole year. He said that he did not see the sky for 1 year. After he was released, he fled to Turkey, which is where his story takes more of a positive turn, thankfully. Now, the first thing he did was teach himself how to speak Turkish, using simply a smartphone and free resources. Fast forward just a couple of years, and he has become a school teacher himself, teaching Arabic language and computer programming to the kids in Turkey, helping to make their lives better. And he's doing much better himself, as you can see. Next up is a remarkable lady named Noor. Originally from Iraq, she fled after a car bomb exploded on the street outside her house, shattering the windows to the house and sending bullets flying in all directions. And she told us a story of fleeing in her car with her family while their house turned into a literal war zone. Now, she also fled to Turkey, and she also taught herself how to speak Turkish using just a smartphone and free resources. She now speaks more than 5 languages fluently and has become a successful software engineer, which requires English. Her name actually has a meaning. It simply means the light, which I think is quite appropriate for her. I have just one more story for you today, and it comes from the final stop on our journey. We were granted last-minute permission to enter this place. Well, this is Azraq refugee camp in Jordan, and it is one of the largest refugee camps in the world. The Azraq refugee camp has a population of 37,000 refugees. And out of 37,000 refugees, 60% of them are children. As I'm sure you can imagine, this is a very difficult place to gain access to. And even once our team was inside the camp, they were very hesitant about just how much they wanted to show us. See, they didn't really understand why we had come there to see them. And after a little while, we found out why they were so worried about us being there. It turns out that the camp was actually using Duolingo to teach the refugees English. Well, this is excellent. So why would they be worried about us being there, of all people? It turns out at first they thought we may have come there to sue them for copyright infringement, because they were putting our logo on the certificates that they gave to the refugees. They really thought we were lawyers in disguise. They were very relieved when we told them this was not why we had come there and that they could keep on doing it. They introduced us to this young man. Well, this is Mahmoud. Mahmoud is 15 years old, and he has been at Azraq refugee camp since he was a small child. See, when his family fled Syria, they had to move between more than 30 different towns before they arrived at this refugee camp. They fled on 30 separate occasions before they could find somewhere safe. And we were introduced to Mahmoud because he is just completely obsessed with learning English. He is obsessed with language. And we asked him what he would say if he could send a message to everyone in the United States to tell us about himself. A daunting question. But he said this. He said, "I want them to know about me that I never gave up with the war circumstances that we are in." He said, "I love to learn so that life would continue." That's how he thinks about language. And we met many countless people on this journey, and they all seem to have one surprising thing in common. Well, they were not learning a new language to earn 25% more or to get a better job. And they were all learning a new language to survive, to triumph over impossible circumstances. You see, for them, learning a new language represents a chance at a new life. It's a chance for them to find home again. So, if you've tried to learn a new language but you haven't quite gotten there yet, don't give up. It might just save your life. Thank you very much.